because I felt that I grew through all my experience in the night school program.
Once again, welcome, good afternoon, welcome to another podcast series of the Night School program. And together here with us this afternoon is Pragyan from Georgetown University. And he will be sharing his experiences with us this afternoon after he was able to share his experiences with our stakeholders, our students and volunteers in the Night School program. So Pragyan, perhaps you can also say hi to our viewers.
Hello. Thank you so much, Roel, for having me here. I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation.
Yes, and we're very excited as well to have you here with us this afternoon. So for my first question, Pragyan, how did you feel before and after the data sharing? What are some of the emotions you felt before you were asked to do the data sharing?
That's an interesting question. So I guess there were a lot of thoughts in my mind because what I was here for the 3 weeks was primarily data collection and not data analysis or trying to make sense of what I had collected from my conversations with you and everyone else that I spoke to. So when the thought of data sharing, you see it doesn't match the timelines. I hadn't really analyzed or made sense of the information that I collected to the degree I wanted to. So at first I felt doubtful about whether or not I was prepared for the data sharing, but then later when I talked with Sir Mayeng and talked more about what this entails, what the data sharing entails, especially reflections about myself, reflections about how I felt before, after, during, and also just to share the intuitive realizations. I think once I realized that in the first week or so, I felt a lot more comfortable. And I think it was good because in many ways it prompted me to be more intentional, more reflective, more thoughtful throughout my experience because there was something that I was looking forward to. So it prompted me to think, ask the question, why, what does this mean, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's how I was thinking, feeling right before the data sharing.
Okay, for our second question, so thank you very much, Pragyan, for sharing your wonderful experiences and for sharing your emotions to us. And we can actually feel also that you're also prepared during that presentation. And it was very evident that you've learned so much realizations all throughout your 3-week stay here with us in SOE. So for my second question, how will you describe your overall experience starting from the very beginning of your engagement up until what has transpired yesterday?
That's actually a very loaded question.
Yeah.
I guess one word to sort of describe this whole experience. I'm actually caught up between two words. Maybe they mean the same thing. One is, I guess, transformative in some ways, and the other was I felt a sense of becoming, and they are similar in some ways because they both talk about growth and they talk about change in how we think and how we believe and stuff that we the way we experience the world and so on. But I think transformative suggests that I transformed, like I changed completely from who I was before. I think becoming could be then a better word to describe this experience because I felt that I grew through all my experience in the night school program, and in many ways I think I grew in a very emotional sense. I felt I became, through a lot of my conversations, the maturity, the sense of humility, the sense of intentionality and the sense of purposefulness that was demonstrated in all of the conversations, it obviously rubs off on you. And I wouldn't say that I did not possess any of these qualities before. I probably did, but I feel like after these conversations, what it means to give, what it means to serve, what it means to compromise, or what it means to put in effort, I think all of these things sort of got a new meaning in some ways. So yeah, I would say that to some of my experience.
Yes, and just like what I keep on saying to some of our volunteers also, that in everything that we do, we must know our intentions. We must operate it with and for love,
Yeah.
because that's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Because again, we here in the night school program in Arupe Educational Center, we are a pool of volunteers, and we're not paid to do these things, to do these tasks. And that's also one thing that I learned from you, that we really need to love what we're doing, put passion into what we are doing. So for siguro Pragyan, how was it processing all those emotions, information, and experiences with SOE and to the partners we have? How are you able to process all these things? Because I know that being here now, you were also bombarded with so much information, so much experiences. It's too overwhelming sometimes. So how are you able to process all these things?
So you mean how was I able to make sense of it and
Yeah.
then do that presentation? How was I able to articulate? I honestly, I feel like throughout my time here, although I spoke to a lot of people, I got a lot of information, I felt that almost all of my conversations were very clear, they were very heartfelt, and they were very, in many ways, they were holistic, they were multidimensional. Like, I was not just knowing one aspect of the person that I was speaking to. I was not just knowing you as a professional volunteer teacher, but throughout my experiences with you, and maybe even in the questions through the interview, I was getting to know you more as a person. And and the interview in itself was one that was very clear. So I think that also helped me become more clear about my thoughts and how I was processing those thoughts. But with the interview, with the presentation really, what I wanted to keep in mind was just specific points of reflections and how I should reflect on them, and just building on the reflections and realizations that I already had.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I spent some time working on the interview, working on the presentation and thinking about it. So I think that surely helped.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that was your overall presentation. It was short but very meaningful, and we can actually felt the things that you said by within our hearts.
I'm grateful you think that.
As viewers and as audience. And yes, no. So for my last question, what's your message, no, to the fellow youth, to our fellow youth? Because we know that these things that we're doing here in the night school program, we are actually wanted to see transformation within our community. So what will be your message to our fellow youth, especially to those youth who are also doing so much for their community?
I think a message that I honestly in many ways have learned here, I think it's twofold. I think the first is to not forget why you started, and to always make sure that you're going back to that meaning and that sense of purpose and what drives you to do the things you do. And I think sort of related to it is also to not forget that you are not alone, but you are whole. You are part of a community, a society, and in many ways we're all interconnected.
Yes.
So yeah, that I guess is the message, and one that I've learned here in the most fullest sense.
It's like you always go back to your whys, right?
Yes.
And part of that, you need to find that inner brokenness within you for you to do something for your community. So that's also one thing that we should always bear in mind, that we should be disturbed if social inequalities is happening, is rampant in our society. We need to be disturbed.
Yeah.
We need to do something about it. So for our learners, Pragyan, what will be your message to our learners in the night school program? To our learners right now and to the future learners that will be having.
Yeah. Honestly, the learners have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for them, and I know it's not easy to go in, day out with personal life, with work, with financial insecurity, to come here to study, to worry about the things that they have to worry about. So the perseverance and grit that they exhibit in many ways is truly, truly commendable. But while I say that, I would also be cautious, because sometimes there are moments of weakness, there are moments of pain, and there are moments of difficulty. And sometimes when you think someone is very courageous and brave and perseverant, we tend to forget that they also deserve some care and some love and some respect. And in many ways they get it at NSP. And in moments that you don't, I hope you can ask for it. And I hope there will be people around you that will care enough to give back.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pragyan. Thank you very much for your generosity and for sharing your story with us, and for also being here with us in the past 3 weeks. And we're so very excited as well to to read, no, to read your the result of your research here with us in the night school program. And just like what I said, always to our volunteer teachers, to our learners, that we continue what we are doing because we believe that there is a future for every one of us. There is a brighter future for every one of us. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and bon voyage on your travel going back to Nepal. And you know that you always have your home when you go here, when you wanted to visit in the Philippines, specifically in Cagayan de Oro. So you have the night school program and the whole SOE family. So with that, thank you very much to our viewers, our listeners out there. So this is our night school program podcast series with Pragyan from Georgetown University. So magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon, everyone.
Amping.
Amping.